Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome the audience to the December 19th, 2017 Parish Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Would you all please stand as Coach Williams says the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Dear Lord, we pause at this moment to give thanks for all your many blessings. Thank you for allowing us to see another day. And thank you for all your gifts throughout our lives. And thank you for your suffering, your dying, shedding blood for remission of our sins. On the third day you rose. All power is in your hand. We just give you the glory. And thank you, Lord, for these who have come tonight to get information, not only information, but get for us to honor their request. We pray for this board, pray for this staff. And we thank you, Lord, that you're almost allowing us to see another year that we celebrated your birth. And we just thank you. And we pray for those who suffer throughout this land. And we pray, Lord, and let the Holy Spirit guide and lead us that we might do the right thing this night. Offers our prayer. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we call the roll, I would like to welcome Ms. Janelle Hyatt to the Planning and Zoning Board. She is replacing our dear Miss Betty Brown, who has served on the Planning and Zoning Board since September of 2000. So she has been on here many years, quite possibly one of the sweetest people I've ever met, I will say. We are appreciative of Ms. Brown's dedication and service to the parish of Calcasieu, and we look forward to working with Ms. Hyatt in the same capacity. Ms. Christie, would you please call the roll?
Chair Jay O'Shea.
Here.
Vice Chair Art Little.
Here.
Mr. Randy Armator.
Here.
Ms. Latricia Cobb. Ms. Julia Dickerson.
Here.
Ms. Sharon Moore.
Here.
Ms. Janelle Hyatt. Here. Mr. Kyle Link is absent. Mr. Gary Navarre.
Here.
Mr. Kirk Smith.
Here.
Mr. LaSalle Williams.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Christie. This is an 11-member board. It will take a majority of those members present to grant or deny any request heard tonight. The chair will refrain from voting unless that vote might affect the outcome. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and reports from their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone and state your name, address, and the nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak other than the applicants need to fill out a blue request to appear form located in the back of the room. The form must be given to a staff member prior to the reading of the agenda item. As required by this board's bylaws, in all cases, the proponents will be limited to 10 minutes. Opponents will be granted 10 minutes as well, with each speaker allowed no more than 3 minutes. I would recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there is a large group wanting to speak on the same agenda item. If 4 or more speaker request forms are submitted, the time allowed for individual speakers will be limited based upon the number of forms submitted. The chair has the right to limit speakers who present redundant information or personal attacks. In unique situations, the chair may extend or the board may vote to extend the time allotted for speakers. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. The zoning exceptions and variance requests are final tonight. The rezoning cases will go before the police jury for final action on December 21st, 2017 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is being filmed by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesday and Thursday following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.cppj.net. Channel 5 in Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Benton, DeQuincy, and Gillis. Channel 99 in Carlos and Grand Lake. At this time, I would ask that everyone please silence or turn off any electronic devices or noisemakers. Moving to item number 5. Take appropriate action on EX 1117-0011, a request by George Cabrera Martinez, and for an exception to allow residential development, 3 manufactured homes in the 6100 block of Central Court in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with
So
these
moved.
stipulations. We've got a motion from Mr. Navarre
Second.
and a second from Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located east of Lake Charles and encompasses 2 lots totaling nearly 4 acres. The property is zoned single-family residential, and the applicant would like to place 3 manufactured homes on the 2 lots. One of the homes will serve as the applicant's residence. The other 2 homes will be the residences for his parents and his sister. We have received the letter in opposition, and it is attached to the item on your tablets. Because manufactured homes are not inconsistent with the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments to site plans in light of technical or engineering considerations, and that the manufactured homes be skirted prior to the utilities being connected.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. At this time, the applicant, if you would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if you have anything that you would like to say, it's not required, but if you would like to come to the podium and say anything.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Jorge Cabrera Martinez, and I just want to state that my address currently is 8559 Gulf Highway,
Okay.
lot 238. And I bought this lot not long ago, let's say about 3, 4, 6 months ago, and I just bought it not really for me, but for my family, something that I could say it's mine, I could live there. And if I had money to build a house, since it's a R1 code, I would, but I don't. And to me, it saves up, it's just a lot easier, not just like the economical, but I already own a double wide. Why would I wanna, I don't have the money to build the house, but I have the trailer. It's easier for me to just go ahead and set it there.
Mhm.
That's basically what I would like to do.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Jorge? Ms. Cobb?
It's saying you want to put 3
Yes,
manufactured homes.
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Three, one is mine, the other one, of course, if the rezoning is allowed, my father, he's here with me, he will eventually be able to buy his and set it there next to me. And my sister, which she's about to go into college, I want to help her out, give her her own little place. I'm not saying right now, but in a year or so.
So this wouldn't be used for rental property?
No, not at all. Family-wise.
Any other questions for the applicant?
So how much property is it?
It's like 4 acres, little
4
bit.
acres?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, sir. You may be seated. There's no discussion by the board at this time. I will call Ms. Kathy Cook. And please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kathy Cookson, and I live at 5818 Central Drive. Just down the street from the trailer park where they're wanting to move these homes onto. Our main concern is because since I've lived there, be 10 years next year, there's been a lot of drugs in and out from the trailer park, speeding, vandalism, theft on this street. And the main areas from that trailer park, it's been on record, it's been recorded. The speeding goes on, and it's everyone that comes down from there. And this is our concern, is this still going to continue? Is it going to open up this space? And I heard this young man speak, to open up for further people to move onto the same property, because we've had enough of the speeding, the drugs being sold in and out of there. Children can't even walk the street because of the speeding. It's really bad. It's been going on for a long time. And we're just concerned that this same thing is continually happening. And it's still going on today. Speeding in and out, And it's not, because the speed limit there is 30 miles an hour. They're going 50 and 60 miles an hour down that street from 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 7, 6 o'clock in the evening, till 10 o'clock. I'm up at 5 o'clock every morning because I work, and I hear them in and out. And it's just not good. And we're tired of it, so we're just concerned about that same thing still happening. The more they get down there, is it still going to go on? We don't know.
Sure.
Just like anybody else, we don't want that in your street. You want your children to have a safe place to play. But this just needs to stop.
Okay. We appreciate your comments.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments by the board? At this time, if the applicant would like to come and speak to any of the concerns made by Ms. Cookson, you may come at this time.
Basically, I go cut my grass there. It's, of course, I have to. I go cut the grass, and, yeah, like she says, I do see it, but the thing is that it's not me, the fact that I'm going to move there is going to stop it or it's going to continue it. If the people who drive the vehicle are not being careful enough, or maybe let's get a patrol car out there, have them
Sure.
put a stop to it, because I'm sure all of us around here drive or know somebody that drive. And we know that in an area where you see, of course, it's low speeds, and our kids are probably going to run out. It's common sense. You got to slow down.
Sure.
I mean, it's people who do that probably.
Yeah, it's really not a.
Yeah, it's not a. And
this board
I'm
to
not
address,
saying that.
Judy.
It's
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe okay. Any questions or comments by the board? Any further discussion? Ms. Christie, let's do a roll call vote.
Mr. Little,
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson,
Yes.
Mr. Armentor,
Yes.
Ms. Cobb,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
yes.
Mr. Navarre,
Yes.
Ms. Galicia,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
and Ms. Hyatt.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Unanimous. Item 5 passes. Item 6. Yeah, we do have 3 cards, blue cards in opposition, or, I'm sorry, 2 in opposition and 1 proponent for item 6. Take appropriate action on EX 1117-0012, a request by William Montgomery for an exception to allow residential development for manufactured homes at 5843 Thompson Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Navarre and a second by Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in Carlos and encompasses 2 lots totaling 1.12 acres. The land is zoned light commercial, and the applicant proposes placing 4 manufactured homes on the 2 lots with all 4 units to be rented. The applicant is also requesting a variance on the amount of public road frontage. That request will be considered in the next agenda item. We have received 1 email in opposition, and it is attached to your agenda item on your tablets. Because the development is consistent with the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments, and that the manufactured homes be skirted prior to the utilities being connected.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. At this time, if the applicant has anything to add to the staff's presentation, you may come to the podium at this time.
I'm Christy Hardy. Due to the opposition, we are requesting that a deferral.
Your address, please.
Sir?
Your address?
Oh, address?
Yes.
2205 Hodges Street. I'm the operations director for Whitetail Property that Mr. William owns.
Thank you.
Due to the opposition, we request a deferral in order for us to try to reach a compromise with the opposition.
Okay. I would need a motion for a deferral.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Navarre and a second by Ms. Cobb.
And Mr. Chairman, the two opposition cards you have, I believe, are the two spokespersons for the larger group that are opposed to this request.
Okay.
I didn't confirm whether they would be okay with the deferral. I believe they would be.
Okay.
So if maybe.
Can call them.
Yes, if you call to see if they have any opposition to the
Sure.
deferral.
Okay. This time I'll call Mr. Randy first.
Thank you. On behalf of I actually only represent one individual, but there's approximately 30 people here to oppose. This would give us an opportunity to provide you with a plethora of written materials that would outline some deficiencies and some problems with regard to the veracity of the application. So we would grant that deferral if you would grant that deferral, which give us time to provide you some detailed information instead of just a 3-minute presentation.
Sure. Thank you. So we do have a motion on the floor to defer. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 6 is deferred. Mr. Gabb, would we need to defer 7 also?
Yes, we would.
Okay.
And
So move.
So I'll need to read it in
Well,
and then
yeah,
defer. Okay.
yeah.
Take-
Read the item and
Yeah.
then we'll have the motion.
Take appropriate action on VAR 1117-0027, a request by William Montgomery for a variance to allow 4 dwellings with less than required public road frontage, requires 240 feet, and they're requesting 234 feet at 5843 Thompson Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion to defer.
So move.
We've got a motion by Mr. Navarre and a second by Ms. Cobb. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 7 is deferred. Item 8, case RZ 1017-0036, a request by East Pran Lake Properties LLC to rezone from agricultural to recreational vehicle park to allow a recreational vehicle park, 92 spaces, in the 9500 block of Corbina Road in Ward 3 has been withdrawn by the applicant. To item 9, take appropriate action on case RZ 1017-0042, a request by Thomas McDaniel to rezone from agricultural to heavy industrial to allow an industrial development, equipment storage yard, and bulk material storage in the 7800 block of Highway 27 South in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So move.
Motion by Coach Williams.
Second.
And a second by Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Carlos area and encompasses 10 acres. If the rezoning is approved, the applicant will lease the land to REK Partners. REK would use the land as a storage yard for heavy equipment and to stockpile rock and dirt for the future expansion of the Port of Cameron. The existing building on site would be used as an office. A chain link fence would be constructed around the 10 acres. We have not received any written opposition to this request. Because the proposed zoning is consistent with the zoning of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code, that a drainage impact analysis will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, and that permitting is subject to approval of the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. If the applicant would state your name and address, sir.
Thomas McDaniel, 111 Garber Street, Cameron. I've owned that land for about 20 years, and the back part of the property is already heavy industrial. It's just a front little piece going into it, and we actually don't have enough room in the back to do what we need to do, and we was just going to limestone the front part of there. I think one of the neighbors is here kind of concerned, and we would put a privacy fence between us and them. But it's always been heavy construction back there. It's just that we just wanted to open up and give us a little bit more room up towards the main road, you know.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant at this time? Thank you, sir. I have 2 blue cards. One is marked in opposition and one is unmarked. Is it Outlaw? Last name Outlaw? Mary Outlaw. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name's Mary Outlaw, and I live at 7853 Highway 27 South, adjoining Mr. McDaniel's property. And I'm opposing it because of the traffic. I have young grandkids, the drainage problem's bad, plus it's affecting the wildlife around there.
Okay.
So,
Any questions for Ms. Outlaw by the board? Okay, thank you, ma'am. You may be seated. Ms. Janet Allen?
Hello, my name is Janet Allen. I live at 7830 Highway 27 South, which is immediately across the highway from Mr. McDaniel's property, although I have a few feet across the highway that is adjoining his. I also am concerned about the traffic. There's never been a lot of traffic back there because his father was living there for years. I've been in this area since 1988. And the traffic now has become so horrible, even though I fenced in, I'm still worried about the grandkids and the livestock on the highway. And this is just going to create more traffic in and out. And it's driving, as Ms. Outlaw said, it's driving the coyotes and the wild pigs into our yards and on our property. The more development that's going on out there, as well as it is on the migratory path. If you'll look at the United States map, I'm not sure how it's going to affect the birds when they come through. And there are some that stop off and nest here. And I'm not sure how all this development is going to affect the wildlife. So that's my main concerns.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Allen? Thank you, ma'am. You may be seated. Are there any questions or comments or discussion?
What part's already heavy industrial?
Ms. Felicia?
No, adjacent to it is heavy industrial, but this particular property is on agricultural.
Okay, I thought he said the backside was heavy industrial.
Of his own property, but this particular property.
Oh, I got you, okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Lowe?
And we do have ordinances in place to take care of any kind of dusting or whatnot, being this is a lay-down yard, storage yard with trucks and stuff running in and out. That they have, the neighbors have ways and means to complain to the parish or whomever if they have issues such as that?
We have our standard nuisance ordinances.
That's what I was-
And certainly, yes, if anything becomes a nuisance, then there are certainly avenues that others outside of this board can address.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time I will call the applicant, or if you have, I'm sorry, Mr. Armstrong, I'm sorry.
Do we know approximately how much acreage is already zoned and how much is he wanting to zone? Or that's not information that we have?
We'd probably have to calculate that.
Oh. Or,
Well, the site,
I mean,
the site is almost 12 acres, correct?
what he's
The site
wanting to
is 10.
rezone is 12 acres?
10.
10 acres is what he's
Yes.
wanting to rezone?
Yes, if you look on the map that's on the screen,
Yes.
I'm trying to see, the purple that's kind of to the north, cat corner, it appears that he owns quite a bit of that. I'm sure that he could tell us how much of that is his.
Could you come back up, sir? I don't know if you heard Mr. Armitage question, but maybe you can help us here.
Actually, I have 240 acres there, but most of it's wetland. And the part that's heavy industrial that's in the back used to be a shipyard there.
Okay.
And my dad bought it. He cut junk iron there for years and stuff, and then he got too old and just kind of quit doing it. But the front part is 10 acres. And as far as wildlife, we try to keep that cut. There's no trees on it or nothing like that right now. And there's a road that goes right down through there to the back part, Shell Road, been there. There's a tower back there that's commercial, but it's just,
You're talking the back L-shaped piece back there?
well, it's actually right there off the road, off of 27, that whole piece that's in yellow right there,
Okay, I'm asking you which part is already zoned
behind that.
Behind it.
behind all of this?
Where the trees and the building is in the back part back there?
Okay,
Around the
behind
water?
the yellow.
Yeah, where
What's
the
out?
water is, where the loop of the water, that's all waterfront, heavy industrial there.
Okay, and that's all zoned?
Yes, sir.
That's across from it.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Sir, if you would like to address any of the concerns that the opposition stated, you can do that.
Yeah, as far as if it's any dust, we can wet it down with the stuff to keep it from having any dust. But the privacy fence, we was gonna put a chain link fence, but on that side to divide the property, we can put a privacy fence, you know, make that side wood. Basically, we're not gonna build no buildings or nothing like that on it. You know?
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. You may be seated. Any other questions, comments, discussion? If not, Ms. Christie, let's do a roll call vote.
Ms. Dickerson?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
No?
Mr. Williams?
Yeah.
Mr. Armentor?
Yes.
Ms. Galicia?
Yes.
Ms. Cobb?
Yes.
Mr. Navarre?
Yes.
Ms. Hyatt?
Yes.
9 for and 1 against. 8 for.
Eight.
Excuse
Eight.
me, 8 for.
Yeah, all right. Item 9 passes. Item 10, take appropriate action on case RZ 1117-0043, a request by Rebecca Lee to rezone from agricultural to manufactured home park, to allow a manufactured home park, 40 spaces at 7104 Carbino Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations. Motion by Mr. Little and a second by Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located southeast of Lake Charles and encompasses 8.5 acres of land. There are 2 manufactured homes on the property at this time. If the rezoning is approved, the applicant plans to construct in phases 38 additional spots for manufactured homes. The roads and parking areas are proposed to be asphalt, and we have not received any written opposition to this request. Because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments, that a drainage impact analysis will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, and that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. If the applicant is present and you would like to add to the staff's presentation, you may come to the podium at this time. All right. Any questions or comments by the board? Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 10 passes. Item 11, take appropriate action on RZ-1117-0044, a request by Westlake Petrochemicals LLC to rezone from agricultural to general commercial to allow a commercial development, administrative offices and parking lot at 4797 Highway 27 South in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with the stipulations.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Navarre,
Second.
second by Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in Carlos and encompasses 13 acres. There's a church, a house, and 2 storage buildings on the property at this time. The church will continue to be utilized as such until June of 2018. Between now and then, a concrete parking area would be constructed on the south side of the land. The parking area would be used by construction groups related to the Westlake projects. After the church vacates the existing building, that structure would be modified to be used as administrative offices for Westlake. At that same time, construction will commence on the expansion of the existing church building. We have not received written opposition to this request, and because the proposed zoning is consistent with the zoning in the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following stipulations: the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided that the director may authorize adjustments, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development, that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code, that a drainage impact analysis will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, and that permitting is subject to approval of the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. At this time, if the applicant would like to come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Andropont. I reside at 1317 Bernadette Drive in Sulphur, Louisiana. Really don't have a lot to add with what Ms. Wallace and staff has recommended. We acquired the church with the intentions of expanding that and creating office spaces for our employees. We would relocate a number of our employees that work at the petrochemical complex at the south end that are housed in trailers at this time. And we think from a logistical standpoint, it would be very feasible for us to do. We would ask that you vote in support of the recommendation. I want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas as well.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions for the applicant? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Andropont. Any questions or comments by the board? Seeing no opposition, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 11 passes. Item 12. Advised that the police jury took the following action on November 16, 2017, with reference to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board from the November 14, 2017 meeting. Applicant JDAD LLC, the location Common Street, Planning and Zoning Board passed, and the police jury upheld. Applicant Ardwan, location Lewis Street, Planning and Zoning Board passed, and the police jury overturned. Applicant Basilio, location Common Street, Planning and Zoning Board passed, and the police jury upheld. Applicant Abshire at Leger Road, Planning and Zoning Board passed, and the police jury upheld. Applicant Carnahan, location East Dave Dugas, Planning and Zoning Board passed, and the police jury upheld. Applicant North Bay at Highway 90 West, Planning and Zoning Board passed, and the police jury upheld. Applicant Gulf Mobile, location Red Davis McAllister Road, Planning and Zoning Board passed, and the police jury upheld. Applicant FMN Enterprises at Glenley Road, Planning and Zoning Board failed, and the police jury upheld. Calcasieu Parish Police Jury Engineering and Public Works revisions to 26 drainage, Planning and Zoning Board failed, and the police jury overturned. Next item on the agenda is to advise that the next regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 9th, 2018, in the police jury meeting room. Make sure you mark your calendars on that one because it is very early for our typical month. At this time, we will do our election of officers for 2018, and I will turn the meeting over to Mr. Wes Crane for election of chair.
Thank you, Chair Porche. This is the election of our officers. We have to do this every December as part of our bylaws. First of all, I want to thank you all for serving on this board throughout the year. Mr. Porche as chair, Mr. Little as vice chair. Y'all have done an excellent job. I appreciate it, and all y'all serving on this board. And I do want to wish y'all a Merry Christmas too, and a Happy New Year. At this time, I will take any nominations for chair. The floor is open.
I nominate Art Little for the position of chair.
I have a nomination for Mr. Little. Okay. I have a nomination for Mr. Little and for Mr. Porche. Are there any other nominations for chair? Any other nominations for chair? Entertain a motion to close the nominations.
So moved.
So moved. Second. And we got a second. All those in favor? Close it?
Aye.
Okay. And what we'll do is I'll ask Christie to do a roll call vote, and you will vote for the person that you wish to be the chair. Okay? And that's going to be either Mr. Little or Mr. Porche. Christie?
Mr. Porche?
Mr. Art Little.
That's easy.
All right.
Art?
Ms. Dickerson?
Art.
Mr. Armentar?
Mr. Little?
Ms. Cobb?
Mr. Porche.
Mr. Little.
Mr. Navarre,
Mr. Little.
Ms. Galicia,
Mr. Little.
Mr. Williams,
Little.
Ms. Hyatt.
Ms. Porsche.
So, Ms. Chrissy, tally the votes.
8 for Mr. Little and 2 for Mr. Porsche.
Okay, that's what I have too. So, Mr. Little will take the reins as chair of this board, and we congratulate you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And,
Very much.
and I will either relinquish this chair so you can take the nominations for vice chair, or if you would like for me to do that, I'll be
You're doing a
glad.
wonderful job.
Okay.
Take over.
I'll do that too. All right, so I'll entertain a motion for vice chair,
Mr. Porsche.
or open the nominations for vice chair. Okay, so I have a nomination for Mr. Porsche as vice.
Mr. Armentar.
I have a nomination for Mr. Armentar. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Ask for a motion to close the nominations.
So moved.
A motion, second? Got a second? All those in favor?
All right.
All right, and we'll go through the same process. Ms. Christie?
Mr. Porsche,
Mr. Armentar.
Mr. Little,
Mr. Armentor.
Ms. Dickerson,
Mr. Porsche.
Ms. Galicia,
Mr. Armentar.
Ms. Cobb,
Mr. Porsche.
Mr. Smith,
Mr. Armentor.
Mr. Navarre,
Mr. Armentar.
Ms. Hyatt,
Porsche.
Mr. Williams,
Armentar.
Mr. Armentor.
Armentar.
7 for Mr. Armentor, 3 for Mr. Porsche.
Okay, and congratulations, Mr. Armentar, you are the vice chair, and I will relinquish this chair.
Shorty.
It
was 6 minutes.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
No,
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned. Merry Christmas and see y'all in January.